Alright fam, I have a lot to say, don't have a lot of time, so let go. So initially I wanted to talk about this dope thing in psychology and philosophy called spiral dynamics, but I don't have time for that. You can find tons of dope YouTube content on that. Instead I'm going to talk about some other things. So first thing I want to say is I've been watching some NDEs. These are near-death experiences, and like one episode, this person was like going to this realm, like kind of like heaven, and basically there was a bunch of grass and trees, and he was like one of them, and he felt everything good. But the problem was he could not feel anything bad. He was only allowed to feel good stuff. This is kind of likening to Christopher Hitchens' idea of a celestial North Korea in a way, because it'd be kind of shitty if it kind of makes sense, but I mean it's kind of bad. He might have a point, and maybe that you're only allowed to feel good stuff up there, and that there's no bad. And I guess the consequences of that is you're not allowed to feel sorry, even though you may want to, and it might be dismissive of your feelings a little bit. There might be some coldness up there, a little bit, some toxic positivity, maybe a little bit. You may have a point. And then the other thing, and then the second thing I want to talk about is basically how just watched that actualize.org video about like the different types of happiness by Leo Guru. He's a dope dude for the most part. I don't agree with him on everything, but he has this one point about how the best part happiness you can achieve is being, and then the second one is contribution. I would put being above contribution above being, because if you're just being, then you're just kind of being selfish and you're just helping yourself. You're happy with yourself, but I feel like contribution should be higher because you're helping others. There's more goodness overall. And then there's kind of this weird thing about, this is kind of messed up, so I just don't, so some people say you need to like go through suffering and pain to have empathy for someone else. I think that's kind of BS. I mean, I don't have to get robbed at gunpoint, for example, to have empathy for someone who got robbed at gunpoint. I don't need to experience abject poverty to have empathy for someone in that position. So I don't think it's necessarily true, at least not 100% true, to say something like that. You can't make a blanket statement like you need to go through pain in order to have empathy. I mean, I think what's better is just innate empathy, where you're able to just have empathy for someone without needing to go through pain. And we want to talk about the higher purpose. So let's say so there's like this one kind of dumb thing about the Leo Guru videos, at least a little bit. Or maybe you have this idea like everything is okay, like the universe is okay the way it is, and if bad things happen to you, then it's like likely serving a higher purpose. But I'm not really getting that. So like on the micro scale, it could be robbed at gunpoint. But on the macro scale, how does that benefit anyone? Like, because maybe bigger than that, well, I'm getting robbed at gunpoint because I have to help feed a family, but then bigger than that, then everyone starts doing it, and then it creates a sense of distrust in the community. So, and so on and so forth. So I'm not really following the connection there. How like something bad for you is good for someone else on like the huge scale. On like the ultimate scale. You know, because even if you just go one step beyond, like help someone out, helps more people out, well, I don't know. And it kind of gives you the idea of why is the universe structured that way. You know, why does there have to be physical pain in the first place? Why can't you just, I don't know. very interesting. And the other thing I want to talk about is conflict. Well, this is kind of what I touched on earlier. So you need to go through conflict to have understanding for someone's pain. It's kind of the same thing. I'm not buying that BS. And then, in one Leo Gura video, or like actualize.org video, he talks about, one actualize.org video, there's this idea of lions, like a pride of lions, and it was about, does evil exist, or something like that. I don't know the exact title, but the title of the video had evil in it, and in it, it was like, you know, he had this example of like a pride of lions, and like, they don't really have a sense, his claim was in that video, they don't really have a sense of morality, because they're on the field in Africa, and they're just animals. But I feel like they actually do have a sense of morality if everything is fine and they're not, fighting each other. Maybe they're not written down in English, but I think they have an ingrained sense of morality. So I'm not buying the whole idea that they don't have morality and that somehow everything is good. I think they do have a morality, and it's just not explicit. About introverts, so like, one of my concerns is, like, hypothetically, let's say in heaven, everyone is happy and stuff, and is it automatically an extrovert? Well, what if you're an introvert? I mean, you might be happy being an extrovert, but if you're forced to be an extrovert, that's not that good. I mean, it kind of sucks that you're automatically maybe an extrovert without control. I don't know. I mean, because I like being an introvert here on Earth. So I don't know if you get the freedom of choice to be an introvert up there. Maybe you do. I kind of like my alone time. I'd like it up there too. Who knows? And I also got this, there's like this claim that everyone is in their 30s up there. Like, you're 30 something years old. I'm not really a fan of that, because, like, what if you like one age over another? Again, like, there's no sense of choice. I mean, why specifically that age range? I mean, if you like a specific age that you want to be, why can't you just be that age? Why specifically that age range? And, why not? Why is there no choice? Just thinking about that. And then I want to talk about, like, how absolute morality is equal to, like, complete neutrality. So this is kind of counterintuitive, and it kind of makes sense. I mean, if you have no bias towards anything and you're just okay with everything, then you're neutral with everything, but you're also, in the same way, there's like absolute goodness and I guess peace as a result of that. But I have to be honest, I don't know if that's absolute morality. I don't know if having absolute neutrality is absolute morality, because, I don't know, let's say, like, some, I don't know. I don't know about that. I'm not buying that. And then, on the, like, there's an actualize.org video on conservatives versus liberals. Or not necessarily conservatives versus liberals, but there was like one episode on conservatives and then another episode on liberals. And I have to be honest, like, I'm a little bit of both. I'm a moderate, so that's just a little fact about me. I'm a moderate. I'm both liberal and conservative. And so then the next thing I want to talk about, I'm almost done, by the way, is the idea of you can't control what other people do. But we can take that to an extreme. Like, you could be like, if you see a bunch of bad shit happening and you can't control that, if you tell someone you can't control what other people do, you could be like, someone could misinterpret that to see, oh, okay, well, there's no point anyways, let's just have him do bad things and let have everything crumble to the ground. You can misinterpret it that way. And or you could like say you can control how you react to it, but I guess you can't control how you react to it. So I guess it's not necessarily just being complacent and just like letting people roll over you and stuff. I guess you could still fight evil, I guess. I'm guessing, feel free to like correct me on this, but I feel like you could still fight evil if you can like control your reaction to it. So I hope it's not like complete detachment. That would be bad. And sometimes, you know, people like Ben Shapiro, he's like a conservative guy. He's pretty conservative, but he's also religious. Now, he's not Catholic or Christian, he's a Jew, but he keeps saying things like facts don't care about your feelings. And this is kind of comes across as unempathetic in a way and kind of cold. I mean, it's kind of true, but I just wish he would have more empathy. And also, like, if you claim to be like moral, and like if you claim like the conservative side of things is the moral side of things, then you have to have more empathy. I mean, if you're kind of cold and callous, you can't really say you have that much empathy. And then by extension, your morality gets pushed down a little bit. So it's got to be very careful. While it's true, you got to be careful with that. Or while I think it's true, you still got to be careful with that. And now this is just a little tidbit side thing here. Oh no, nightmare on purpose. So like, there's like this thing about purpose, like you're placed on here for a purpose, but what if you die before you're able to make that purpose? I mean, I have a feeling this kind of lends more credence to the idea of an afterlife, because what if like you're a baby in the womb and you get aid, and I feel like if you didn't, because you weren't necessarily ready to fulfill a purpose here, I feel like if you have a purpose here, then and you weren't able to fulfill it, then you have to have a second rerun, or two or three or four, or however many, until you fulfill that purpose, until you can get to a better realm, you know. So I have a feeling that I like that idea. So if you don't, you have to fulfill a purpose here, and if you know, and if you don't fulfill that purpose and you got to redo it, I like that, you know, I really do. And I talk about ego, how like if I see something bad, it hardens my ego, but it doesn't just harm my ego. It's not just like my ego being harmed, you know. In Actualize.org videos, like Leo Gura talks about how it's your ego that's offended by that. Like when you see murder or something like that, that's just your ego, but it's not just my ego. There's other people's egos too that's being harmed by that. So there's at least two people that are being harmed by that. So it's not just my ego. I mean, more than one person can be harmed by that. It's not a single ego. It doesn't just harm me, it harms others too. It harms the ego of others. And then I had this thing about nightmare. How like if you do bad things here, it just becomes a nightmare for you. I like that idea. Gives a sense of justice in a way. And then now here's just a little side note. If someone is being mean to you, or they're being an a-hole to you, they're getting on your nerves, you can tell them to, this is kind of an ingenious idea, tell them to have a mediocre day. Not a good day, not a great day. Tell them to have a mediocre day, because that's a subtle way of saying F you, I think. That's a really dope idea. And then just three more things. So it's bad to be selfish, but at the same time, how can you help the collective? You know, sometimes being selfless actually might require some selfishness. It's kind of counterintuitive, but think about it this way. I mean, if you want to help the collective whole, but you are sick or weak and we're unable to do this, so like, I don't know, maybe you need to hit the gym and get bigger and stronger, eat more meat, get more iron in you, you know what I'm saying, bro? Like, you got to do Sometimes you got to do some self-help, because if you don't eat or you don't drink, then you'll die. But you have to do some selfish stuff so you can maintain your body, so you can help others. Because if you only help others and don't help yourself, then you die. So in a logical way, you have to be at least a little bit selfish to be selfless. I don't know if you can get rid of the two. And talk about, mistakes. Sometimes I had some NDEs, like I watched some NDEs, and I think in the thumbnail of one NDE video, I don't know which one it is right now, but there's either like this higher being or God or something like that saying there are no such thing as mistakes on earth, but that's kind of BS to me. Obviously there are mistakes. Obviously some things are worse than others. That just doesn't fly. When people harm each other and do BS to each other, that's definitely a mistake. I'm just not buying that. And the last point I want to talk about is hell. So some people might think hell is some fireplace. I think hell is this. I think this is hell. I think the punishment from Adam and Eve in the garden is eternal sin. Well, earth will always have problems on it no matter how good we make it, so in a way it's a hell. So I think earth is hell. It matches up naturally, just like that. Because there's always going to be problems here no matter how good we make it. And it's always going to be like that. That matches hell. It's way more logical to me to assume that hell is earth rather than some fireplace. That's my thinking. And let me see here. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And thank you very much for watching, fam. I know this was some crazy complicated stuff, and I know there's a lot going in my head right now, but those were just some philosophical thoughts of mine from videos I've watched and stuff. Feel free to let me know what you think, and peace. Thank you.